I am Edwina Rosenbusch, EDWINA
It's great to be here with you today, Edwina. I'd like to know what initially drew you to the docent program.
Being new to Utah, you need to take a step out of your shadow and do something to connect to where you live. So that was my initial reason.
Well, that sounds like a good one. What has been your favorite part of being a docent?
Well, it's multifaceted. And the reason I say that is because, number one, you learn your place in the city. You learn and meet friends, which is very important. It's not only just for one day, but for me, it's extended for 15 years or so. So I'm delighted with knowing and seeing my friends. You learn about the world. A museum just connects you to the world, and the world has stories after stories after stories, and I'm learning some of those stories.
That sounds great. Stories are always a good thing, I think. What are your favorite things to do or discuss with visitors in the galleries?
Well, I think I mentioned that it's always nice to know where you are in the world. Me being here in Utah, then I needed to, it's important for me to orient the visitors when we go to different galleries, the cultures. Where are the cultures in the world? And so I always, I think 100% of the time, pull out a map, a world map. And sometimes it's not too informative, but most of the time it is. And so I keep a map.
I remember shadowing you and seeing you work with the map, and it was very well done and interesting. Did you have anything else you wanted to add in that regard about discussing things with visitors?
I came from one culture out of New England. It's a wonderful place to grow up. At least the town that I grew up in was great. People knew and greeted you, and they knew who you were and why you were there or where you were, on the street or in the car. Anyway, when you come out here and into a different culture, you have to know more about it. But that is so important throughout the world. Cultures, this is what we're seeing, particularly here in the United States of America, that we have cultures coming here that I think, I did not understand at all. And so the more I've learned about the cultures here in America, and the reasons that they settled, whether in mid-America or on the East Coast or on the West Coast, is just enlightening to me. But then you go to other parts of the world. And then that certainly has led me into, and my husband, into traveling out in the world. And it's just gleaning as much information as you can, and how that it all fits together, if it could fit together. I mean, right here in Utah, there's a fair amount of dissension, but this is the place for me. This is such a rewarding area of America, because the crossroads, I mean, you can go north, south, east, and west for a great deal of distance, and the scenery changes. I always thought dirt was brown when I came out here, and dirt is often red if you go to a certain place in Utah. So the diversity is helpful to me. And just think of the Olympics, they were able to translate the information in 16 different languages to the world. And that doesn't happen everywhere. Maybe it will happen more often. But the art galleries, they make you look behind the pictures, the paintings, the sculptures, and the artist has a story. What the artist has created, the sculpture of the painting, or putting together the electronics to make you think. I mean, it's just a creation that is always new.
So it sounds like you've made an interesting connection with the society and the art museum. What role do you think art plays in our lives?
Wow.
I know you've touched on that a little bit, but if you want to expand, or do you have anything to add?
Well, I always say review doesn't bother me a bit because you just sometimes just think a little deeper about it. But when you get into the cultures, I'm thinking the Chinese culture. I mean, then you compare and contrast when they began to come together. They had to be unified first, and I like to use the word unity, as in United States, United Kingdom, but they have to come together even though they have different tribes and languages, such as 56 languages in China. So to be able to respect, this is what I'm hoping that we can be a little more akin to, is respecting other cultures, their religions, their purpose. But see, it all comes together with the idea of the spiritual aspect, their language, their food, their symbols. I mean, I know the McDonald symbol and I know a few other symbols, but I had to learn the other symbols of other cultures. So I just think that a museum is the keeper of history in a visual effect for the public.
So
And if
your years as docent at the UMFA, did you feel like being a docent has fulfilled all of your expectations that you've been talking about?
There's like the push me, pull you. It's pushed me. And I am delighted. It's the challenge. You have to want to know something. And the more you learn, the more you have to look further. And so the challenge has given me the spirit to do that.
Well, it's been interesting to interview you, and I appreciate all your words. I know that all of us can gain from your knowledge and what you've done during the docent program.
We have
any other questions?
no. Well,
we have Ashley. Can you turn it off for a second, because we didn't discuss